Hi everyone, I'm really excited to be here actually, and if I fall over it's just because of my shaky legs, so don't worry, don't rush, I will save myself. So let's start and see what I'm going to talk about to thrive at work as an introvert, because I'm an introvert as well. So yeah, whatever I'm going to tell you today is just my story, my journey, so I hope that it will help you as well. But before starting, I would like to share a real story with you about the time that I was a teenager. So whenever we wanted to go for a picnic, I remember that my mother used to choose the most crowded place. Just, so many people around and children just, making noise all the time, and then people, and then my mother used to say that, oh my God, Fiona, I'm so energized seeing all the people around. When I'm here, I feel alive. And as well as my mother, as well as my father and my sister, they were all happy together. And at the same time, I was sitting there so drained, sad, tired, and waiting for that moment that I can return home, be with my own self, and just leave me alone. And then I had this conversation with my mother that she told me all the time, oh my God, why are you so weird? Why can't you enjoy coming with us? And I was a teenager, definitely I didn't have that much of a choice to tell them that, oh no, I'm not coming with you to the picnic or those crowded places. I just followed them, and I wasn't happy about it because they were fine and I wasn't like that. Everybody was happy, alive, and then I was a sad person among all those people. So I had this question all the time as a teenager that, oh yeah, definitely, there's something wrong with me because I'm not feeling okay. And it was up to this point that I got familiar with the concept of introvert. So the context of introvert and extrovert was first introduced by Carl Jung, a psychologist who you might be all familiar with. And he simply mentioned that being an extrovert and introvert, it's about where we get our energy from. So when I said that where we get our energy from is that extrovert people enjoy their time and they get energized by being around other people. And on the other hand, there are introvert people like me that they don't get energized. They would like to be with their own. It's not that I don't like to be around people. It's just a matter of how much time I can spend around people and not getting drained. So it was fine. I got familiar with the concept and I said, okay, yeah, that's the whole difference for me. And right now I have something to tell to my mother, that why am I like this? But things didn't stop because I started my career, and at some point, I'm a UX designer, so I needed to talk to product team, I needed to talk to engineers, I needed to talk to business leaders, everybody around me. And then it started to feel like a big disadvantage for me. So it wasn't my mother anymore scolding me or telling me that, oh yeah, you're so weird, why are you like this? It was mostly the meetings, the new working places, the events that I joined. So during the meetings, whenever I wanted to tell something, I had this fear of judgment all the time that, oh my God, if I say this, they might think that I'm crazy, or what if this question is so stupid to ask? And then when I entered a new company, it was a new working place, and I had these one-on-one sessions that I needed to have with different people. It was so difficult, that awkward silence at the beginning of the meeting that, oh God, what I'm going to say, how I'm going to handle it. And I didn't want to have those one-on-ones, and I was skipping them. And during the events, it was, I think, the worst of all, because I didn't know anybody there. So whenever I joined an event, it was full of people, and I couldn't talk to anybody. I used just to choose a very quiet corner to go there, and then maybe the best possible situation was just listening. And then I started maybe leaving these events and not joining them. So this was the moment in my career that I became my own harshest critic. I started criticizing myself all the time, asking myself different questions, and oh my God, yeah, you are not like others. You can't do the job. And if you continue this way, you are not going to be successful anymore. And all these questions just, it was eating me alive because I didn't have any answer, and I wasn't like the others who were just, communicating, they're fine in the working places. And yeah, what's wrong with me? What is it? What is it there that is eating me alive? And then I started asking this question that, okay, whether it's a challenge or it's just an issue, because there are different aspects to, look at it, whether it's an issue, a problem, or is it just a challenge to face. And then that is why I'm here today, to share my journey with you, because at some point of time, I started asking myself that, how can I work with who I am, instead of just telling that, oh yeah, is it a challenge, or is it an issue, what's wrong with me? And the reason that I came upon this process of how to work with myself was another part of the definition that Carl Jung gave for extrovert and introvert. And this definition is mostly about this introvert and extrovert has nothing to do with our social skills, confidence, and personality flaws, which is really important because it tells me that although I might not be able to change myself toward being an extrovert, I can work on my skills. I can work on stuff that makes me more confident. I can work on the social skills and be here, or in the company I can be more confident to talk and interact with different people. But before jumping to the solutions that I'm going to share with you that work for me, I would like to give you a bit of a context about why do we feel so drained when meeting new people or being in new places, because I think that getting the context will help a lot. It's kind of a part of the solution from my point of view. So we are all familiar with the comfort zone. So this is the zone that we feel really comfortable. We know it as a safe zone as well. We are really fine because it's like being with our friends, close friends, with our family. And then if some people see us when we are with our close friends, they might even tell us that you are not an introvert, you're an extrovert, definitely, because you're fine. But the thing is, we are in our comfort zone. So we are fine with talking to the people who are near to us, and we are fine with that. And then we have this panic zone. So this is the part that definitely we all panic because we get anxious, we get overwhelmed, like all those new situations, all those events that I used to join. It was just, the word is obvious. I just panicked. And then we are not comfortable anymore. We don't feel like ourselves. And most of the time, what happens is we jump straight from our comfort zone to the panic zone. So if I want to give you an example, imagine that I'm fine with my colleagues, a bit of a smiling, eye contact, introducing myself. And one day, there is an event. People are coming from different companies, and it's really important for me to expand my network, my communication. And then I decide, okay, yes, today I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm going to connect them in LinkedIn. I want to, get familiar with them, introduce myself, and then maybe ask more questions, what they are doing. And I go to the event, and it is busy, crowded, and everybody's talking, and I see that there is a group of people talking together. I just go among them, and I start talking to them. But suddenly, I see that one of them is just checking their phone. The other person is, looking around. And this is the time that I start feeling anxious. I start thinking, oh my God, maybe what I'm talking is not that much interesting. Maybe I'm not an interesting person even. Or, there's something wrong with me. And that is the time that I've entered my panic zone, because I jump straight from what I felt comfortable to something very uncomfortable for me, and I feel drained, definitely, in the end. But the good news is, somewhere between these two, comfort zone and panic zone, we have a zone which is growth zone. So this is where that we are not comfortable, definitely, but we don't feel overwhelmed either, which is good, because if we stay in the comfort zone, because we are so comfortable, we don't learn anything. It's just that we are there, we're happy, and nothing changes. But in the panic zone, we panic, we are overwhelmed, so that is where the learning stops, like me leaving that event because I wasn't feeling all right. And then we have this growth zone, which the learning actually happens. And I hope that the solutions that I'm going to share with you will help to work on your skills in that growth zone and not putting yourself in the panic zone. And one more thing that I would like to mention is that these solutions work for me, actually. That is why I'm here today, sharing this journey with you. And I really hope that one of these solutions can work for you as well, which if happens, actually, I've done my job very well. Sorry. So the first one is starting small and designing your growth zone. First, I start with the designing your growth zone. My journey definitely is different from you. Yours is different from another person. So it's important that if you are designing a journey, just compare yourself with whatever that you've been before, not with another person, because people have different skill set. And it's important that if you're planning something, we just consider this fact that we are going to grow, but to comparing ourselves with what we were before. And then starting small is really important, because imagine that when I went to that event and through that example, instead of going and talk to everybody, I could have just put a goal for myself and said that, OK, today I'm going to talk to 2 or 3 persons at most, and then maybe introducing myself and just let the conversation go. And not putting myself under pressure of, ask question, or do stuff. And then if I talk to those 2 or 3 persons, I've done a very great job for myself, because I started small, but as time goes on, I'm sure that it will be more and more. So this time it's 2 or 3, the next time it's more people, the next time it's broader audience, the next time it's very big. And I'm putting myself slightly into the growth zone and not panicking, definitely. And then I'm expanding my knowledge, my communication, and that is what it helps. So it's really important to start small and then design it based on your skill set. The next one is using small talks. So I'm sure that you are all familiar with the small talks topics. Even I'm sure during the meetings, you've seen somebody join on Monday morning and asking you that, what's up? What were you doing during the weekend? Are you planning any trips? Anything for the future? And then you might think that, oh my God, these boring questions again. Why do we have to have this conversation? But believe me, this is what changes the whole conversation. This small talks acts as a kind of an icebreaker for you. So the purpose here isn't to go to search and find some small topics, broadly. It's just finding those topics that are comfortable for you and you would like to talk about them. For different people, can be different. So I have a pet, and I would like to introduce my cat to everybody. So it's just that, when I join somewhere and I don't feel comfortable, maybe I can use that as a kind of icebreaker. Do you have a cat? And then they might have or not, and I can introduce or even show my cat. This is where I feel comfortable, and it will help the conversation to flow. And, I became less anxious when I know what I want to talk about, and it's definitely going to help. The next one is planning ahead. Preparation is confidence. So here is my little secret, actually, what I do when I join a company. I, most of the time, put a game together in a board or some whatever the tool that I have. It's just a 5 or 10 minutes game, very quick. So instead of just joining a meeting, a one-on-one or something, and then stuck in that awkward silence moment in the beginning, I just start with the game and ask them that, can we please just do the game? And then when we start playing, both of us, we feel better, because maybe the other person is just like me, and he or she is an introvert as well, and it's not comfortable talking to me, but this game will really help to navigate. So for me, it worked like a kind of a preparation, but this preparation for you can be anything. It can be like putting a couple of questions together, or some comments, you're joining an event, and then you know that what the topic is, but you might just write down a couple of questions or search on the internet about those topics, and when you are there, and you might feel anxious at the moment, you just check your phone and see those questions. Oh yeah, I have something in my pocket that will help me. The next one is recharging your energy, recharging your source, actually. So this is really important because it helped me a lot over time. So we are all now familiar with the concept that, okay, it's all about being an introvert and extrovert is all about how and where we get our energy from. So recharging this source is really important. So for other people that they enjoy talking to talking to others and they get energized in that situation, for us, it's just like using that source, and it's good that we can intentionally recharge that. So for recharging this source, what do we have to do is you can just follow the things that you want to do. So for someone can be playing something, for someone can be journaling, someone can be walking, playing games, different stuff that you can use. But all in all, the purpose is that you put that activity as a kind of a habit in your daily routine. So then, as an example, you're working the full day, and at the end of the day, you can just go ahead, have your own thoughts, have your own time, and recharge your source. It will really help, but just remember that it's important to do it intentionally over time, not just one time or during a month or one time in a year. It's really important to keep the routine, and it will help you a lot to recharge for the next day when you are meeting new people. And the last one is actually redefining what being seen look like. So it's not about being loud to be visible all the time, because I had this mistake that if I talk all the time, if I engage all the time, then I might be seen. I can have this career in front of me that is very good. But we can be observant, we can be good listeners, and in the end of the meeting or in an event, we can come up with one good question or one brilliant idea, and that's it. That is how it's going to help, and it's going to help us to, not putting ourselves under so much pressure. One thing that is not here, but I was thinking about it to share with you is, I think the most important aspect is wherever we are and whatever we are doing, we don't have to put ourselves under so much pressure that we lose track of everything, that we are so anxious that we can't think anymore. It's just good to relax and say, okay, yeah, it's fine, I can handle it. But before finishing my slides, I would like to turn back where I started. So you might think that after getting the definition right and then having a couple of solutions for myself, right now everything has changed and I have no challenges anymore. I'm fine. And everything is a kind of a happy ending. But the truth is not really. My mother still doesn't believe in any of the words that I say about introvert and extrovert. She still thinks that I'm a weird person. So, no, come on, these concepts, really. She's just doesn't consider me as an introvert or extrovert. I'm just a human for her, and then I have to follow her. But I think the good thing is it's okay that my mother thinks like that. And in the end, actually, it doesn't matter what other people think of me. I think the important thing to consider is the story that we keep telling ourselves. So when I tell about this story, just remember the example that I gave you. So when I joined that event, nobody told me that I'm not an interesting person or I'm not a good person to talk. It was just me talking to myself in my head that, oh my God, maybe I'm not an interesting person. So that is why this story matters, because in the end, the story that we keep telling ourselves and repeating is what is, helping us or not helping us in the end. So there are times that people don't understand us, or we might not fully understand each other, but that doesn't have to affect how we feel about ourselves. And I can just say that please be kind to yourself, clear about your energy, because it's about the source of energy that we have. And just take one small step at a time and just maybe accept yourself and hug yourself. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, everybody.